Now let's go to the next question. Pregnancy with hypothyroidism, pregnancy with hyperthyroidism. So medical disorders of pregnancy is a wonderfully written chapter in the Harrison's Internal Medicine. At least a couple of questions invariably come either from general medicine, epilepsy in pregnancy, heart disease in pregnancy, etc., which you have to master, doctor. With the hypothyroidism, the maternal complications include microcytic anemia, preeclampsia can be predisposed by the hypothyroidism. One thing you have to understand is, unless you have read, you can't guess in the exam, preeclampsia can occur because of hypothyroidism. Can you explain the two? Physiologically difficult. So you have to read certain things, but there are certain things which you have to guess because it is equally a guesswork for everybody. So that need to be remembered. So postpartum hemorrhage, cardiac dysfunction, miscarriage, all these are the important problems with the hypothyroidism. And now what are the fetal complications of the hypothyroidism? Fetal complications include prematurity, intrauterine fetal death. Coming to the hypothyroidism, prematurity, stillbirths, poor neurological development, they are all the problems with hypothyroidism. Whereas if you take hyperthyroidism, it also can cause preeclampsia, infection, preterm delivery, congestive heart failure, miscarriage, thyroid storm, all these are the problems to the mother. And for the child, prematurity, intrauterine fetal death, and neonatal thyrotoxicosis can be a problem. So neonatal thyrotoxicosis, which was given among the options, is more likely with the pregnancy with hyperthyroidism rather than the pregnancy with the hypothyroidism, as all of you have correctly answered, I hope so. Let's go to the next question. Diabetic pregnancy, what is the least common type of the congenital defect? Basically, the neural tube defects are reported in around 2% of diabetic pregnancies. 4% of the infants born have got the congenital heart disease. That means congenital heart disease is more common than that of the neural tube defects, and much more common than the congenital heart disease would be the skeletal malformation, that is the caudal regression. So caudal regression is most common, then comes the congenital heart disease, then comes the neural tube defects. Once more, in the neural tube defects you have two types, anencephaly and spina bifida. Between the two, which is more common? Typically 3 to 6 fold relative risk of anencephaly, 2 to 2.7 fold risk of the spina bifida. So there is a reason out of the 4 options given, the spina bifida falls to be the lowest, is what need to be fundamentally remembered. The deep transverse arrest, android pelvis, is the one which is commonly associated. Now teen-age pregnancies. In India, what is the most common cause for this college dropout or school dropout, doctor? Malnutrition. Or father feeling that why this girl, what is she going to do after becoming postgraduate? Anyway, she need to get married to somebody. But in US, what is the most common cause for the school dropout or a college dropout? It is a teenage unwanted pregnancy is the most common cause, is what need to be remembered. Maybe this question is more relevant for the American situation, but of course in our rarer hamlets and faraway lands in the rural sector, marrying at 15 or 16 is considered to be still a common trend. So let us talk about the teen-age pregnancy. Typically the risk is more, it can lead to difficulty in the childbirth, hence it will predispose to the cesarean section, is definitely a true statement. It also leads to obstetric fistulas, infant mortality increased, eclampsia, and maternal death also is considered to be more common. So maternal mortality, cesarean section, eclampsia, all the 3 are taken care. Now comes the postdated pregnancy, probably would have been the correct answer for this question, is what need to be remembered. Contraceptive which should not be used after the choriocarcinoma evacuation. After choriocarcinoma evacuation, what is the major problem for you, doctor? You need to follow up whether there is any recurrence. How do you know the recurrence? Naturally, any gestational trophoblastic disease can lead to the bleeding as one of the complications. Suppose if you happen to advise IUCD, intrauterine contraceptive device, it also can lead to the bleeding as one of the adverse effects. So you don't know whether the bleeding is due to your IUCD or because of the recurrence of the choriocarcinoma. So that is one of the logics why the IUCD is discouraged as a contraceptive choice in the choriocarcinoma, is what need to be fundamentally remembered. ACE inhibitors should not be used as the antihypertensives in the pregnancy, a very well known fact. And also Eisenmenger complex is also considered to be a strong contraindication for the going ahead with the pregnancy. Similarly, stenotic lesions of the heart, valvular stenotic lesions will worsen. Regurgitant lesions will improve with pregnancy is a common dictum which should not be forgotten. Now, eclampsia is considered to be severe, especially when the renal dysfunction is developing and the urine output is falling less than 500 ml, is considered to be one of the markers of the severe eclampsia is what need to be remembered. The Nile blue sulfate test is a very simple method for detecting the presence of the fetal cells in the vaginal secretions. Now, let us talk about the non-stress test. When do you like to consider it as a healthy fetus? Basically, the terminology uses reactive and non-reactive as the common terms. So, non-stress test, if there are accelerations of the fetal heart rate of at least 15 beats per minute over the baseline, lasting for at least 15 seconds, occurring within a 20-minute time block, then it is called as a reactive non-stress test. If it is a reactive non-stress test, it is considered to be a good one. And if these accelerations do not occur, then it is called non-reactive. So, the reactive is a good sign. Non-reactive always does not mean that the baby is at risk, but definitely it is not as good as a reactive test. The only indication for the internal podalic version would be the delivery of the second baby of the twins in the modern obstetrical practice. Merkel cell carcinoma, typically it is a cytokeratin 20 is the one. So, this question, if we have answered wrong, nothing to feel remorseful about. For that matter, any question we answered wrong, nothing to feel remorseful. Only thing is, we need to tighten few more things, and whatever the nearest entrance we have to look forward for. So, no regrets. Maximum we need to be regretful for one day or one evening. Once more the mission continues, because finally we need to get into the seat of our choice, right? So, Merkel cell carcinoma is an aggressive cutaneous neoplasm, often difficult to diagnose and also answer in the exam also. If a question like a cytokeratin 20 is asked, is what need to be remembered. And basically it has got a very similar histology like the metastatic oat cell carcinoma is what need to be remembered. Now, where do you come across the Matthys sign is a very important sign which is used in the perinephric abscess is what need to be remembered. But what is Matthys sign? Let us talk this quiz question which has come in the entrance. You will be assessing the mobility of the kidney by using the fluoroscopy by taking two films, one inspiratory film, one expiratory film. You look, is the kidney moving or not? So, normal kidneys will be able to move by around 2 to 6 centimeters with the respiration. But if there is a perinephric abscess fixed to the surrounding tissue, it does not move with the respiration. But let me ask you, doctor, are we using the Matthys sign that frequently? 1980, 84, 85 is reasonable. Ultrasound is there, CT is there, MRI is there. We are all modernizing, but questions are not yet modernizing. So, Paris disease is what? Paris means basically we got freedom from India in 1947. But though it is 60 years past, we did not get freedom of acronyms in the medical education, which are continued to be the questions. Basically, Mr. Parry was an English physician. Celeb Hiller Parry, 1822. Probably to see the number of people answering it wrong, Parry's soul will be heaving in the graveyard somewhere in the remote rural England to know that, oh, people don't know, only they know about grave but not about me. So, basically the Baise-Dow's disease, diffuse thyrotoxic goiter, exophthalmic goiter, Graves' hyperthyroidism, Paris disease, thyrotoxicosis, they are all basically synonyms. Bharat, Hindustan kind of things is what need to be basically remembered. Hatfield's operation, another great salutation to one great eminent English surgeon. So, where do you use that? Typically for the ductectasia and the periductal mastitis, there is a cone excision which is done for all the major ducts, especially when there is a persistent nipple discharge and that is being closed with a purse string suture, is basically called the Hatfield's operation, which is done for the ductectasia, is what need to be basically remembered. Venous air embolism is a very important entity. You need to know. Some of you are going to be eminent anesthetists. So, it is a pressure gradient between the external atmosphere and that of the venous system that favors the ingress of the air into the venous system, and upon the entry into the venous system, air will go all the way to the right atrium and lead to the embolization. It is the upright sitting position is a common method which is where it is adopted in while doing a neurosurgical procedure. So, there is a high risk of developing the venous air embolism is what need to be remembered. So, anytime more than 5 centimeters above the right atrium, If the level is there, then venous air embolism is a great risk. Other than that, where else air embolism can be a risk? In the gynecological procedures, cesarean section, you should not forget. Some of your best hands are going to work on probably 500 to 600 cesareans after joining MD Gynops every year. Then craniofacial surgeries, dental implant surgeries, vascular procedures, liver transplantation, and the hip replacement and arthroscopic procedures were orthopedic procedures. There also there is a risk for the venous air embolism is what need to be remembered. This is one of the common questions we answered in one of our Sunday tests. So ankle sprain, what is the most common ligament which is involved? The anterior talofibular ligament is the one first to tear, then the posterior talofibular ligament is the second to tear, and the calcaneofibular ligament is the one which is last to tear. In the ankle sprain is what need to be remembered. MRI does not have radiation, CT has a radiation, and the X-ray also has radiation is what need to be remembered. So MRI is considered to be safe. Generally radial nerve, especially in the mid-humeral area, nearly 70 to 80% chance of recovery. So out of the nerves given, at least in a significant studies, it is a radial nerve. Anybody would like to volunteer medial nerve as a possibility among you? I think this is a very standard question asked frequently in the entrance. Enterochromatin cells in the stomach will be secreting the histamine. Stomach somehow is a favorite topic, physiology of the stomach for the AP state entrance. When I have written the question was, parietal cells secrete what? Suddenly we said, how come parietal cells was asked? Definitely it should not be HCl is what we thought. So two simple questions will be asked, 8th class, 9th class level questions. So still we should answer them. So gastrinergic, muscarinic and beta adrenergic stimulation will make the ECL cells to secrete the histamine is what need to be basically remembered. If there is acute renal failure, but the ultrasound is showing to be normal, what is the meaning of normal ultrasound in acute renal failure? Basically, acute renal failure can occur because of an underlying problem in the kidney anatomically. For example, if there is a urinary stone, and that led to development, ureteric stone, that led to the development of hydronephrosis, then the patient can have acute renal failure. Similarly, any stricture can lead to the acute renal failure. So if there is an anatomical reason for the development of the acute renal failure, ultrasound will be abnormal. Ultrasound is normal means it is not abnormal. But still there is acute renal failure. How to evaluate? So DTPS scanning will enable you to know whether the kidney is functional or not. So if the ultrasound would have been abnormal, then your CT scan, your IVP, etc. will come into picture is what need to be remembered. The round discoid eczematous lesions typically are called the nummular eczema, as all of you know very well. Apple jelly nodules, first you need to know what is apple jelly, how it looks like. So a typical lesion will be found if there is a tuberculosis which is developing on the skin is what need to be remembered. So lupus vulgaris is a very important entity where apple jelly nodules are seen. Vidian neurectomy, all of you know very well that it is done in the case of vasomotor or allergic. Very good. Vasomotor rhinitis.